The St. Louis Cardinals are preparing for their first spring training game and will have a guy on the mound that is a massive wild card for this team going into the season. This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube, of course. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification button so you know when the new episode's coming out. Also available now on TikTok at Locked On Cardinals and on Instagram as well. We're all over the place. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So the St. Louis Cardinals will be playing their first spring training game on Saturday against the Miami Marlins. Very exciting. Good to see baseball back. Last couple of days, you've been able to, watch some other teams play. Finally, the Cardinals will be back on the field, and it's been announced that Erick Fedde is going to be starting this particular game, followed by Matthew Liberatore. Fedde is a guy that we have discussed a little bit, but not a ton this spring, to be honest, because, and it's only week 2, and I get that, but he's kind of the forgotten man in this rotation. And, it's a rotation that's once again going to be very veteran heavy. If everybody stays healthy, obviously you're number one on the staff in your ace, although some people get their feathers quite ruffled when you throw the A word around. But your number one is going to be Sonny Gray, who had a solid season last year. The long ball ended up biting him a couple of times. I shouldn't say a lot more than it did the previous year with the Twins, which was a little disheartening and a bit of a bummer. We're hoping for better results there, but still a solid year for Sonny Gray. I think the big complaint that a lot of people had going into the season last year was, yay, Sonny Gray, awesome. Who's your number 2 guy right behind him? Who's that going to be? The team goes out and they get Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, and we all kind of felt the same way about it. I don't know anybody who was like, yeah, World Series, here we go. Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn are on the roster. It was met with a lot of, those are okay guys, but are they going to push you over the top and make you that much better of a team? Not really. And they both had okay seasons. Lance Lynn dealt with some injuries. That knee issue obviously held him back a bit, but he was better than I thought he was going to be. Kyle Gibson was what Kyle Gibson usually is, just kind of your middle of the road, decent pitcher. He's not going to kill you most days, but, he's not somebody who is going to go out and dominate usually. So, you had Miles Michaelis coming off a down year. He had another down year last year. Matz was injured again. Andre Palante, clearly a pleasant surprise, and the hope is that he continue to progress as a starter this year and continue to do what he did in the second half of last season. We're hoping that what we saw from Michael McGreevy, we're hoping that that was real and not just a mirage, because the numbers tell you when he was in the minor leagues before getting the call up was that there wasn't anything that really stood out about Michael McGreevy, but they made some changes and did some different things with him last year. And you saw the results of that, because after he came up to the major leagues, looked really good with the Cardinals. Then when he went back down to Memphis, was very good with Memphis again. So we're hoping that we get more of that out of Michael McGreevy. But a major wild card for this team, in my opinion, for this rotation is, what are they going to get from Erick Fedde this year? What should we expect? Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Erick Fedde's journey, he grew up in Vegas, actually played with Bryce Harper in high school, went to UNLV, was a former first-round pick of the Washington Nationals back in 2014. He went 18th overall. For those keeping track at home, the Cardinals took Luke Weaver at number 27 that year. They also got Jack Flaherty in that draft at number 34. It was a compensatory pick for the Yankees signing Carlos Beltran. Fedde goes on to win a ring with the Nationals in 2019, but the numbers never really panned out for him at the major league level. He never quite figured things out when he finally did become a full-time starter in 2021. Over a 2-year period, he appeared in 56 games. He started 54 of them, goes 13-22. The ERA, 5.64. The ERA plus just 71. He was a minus 1.7 WAR. It was just not good, basically. So things were bad. And following that season, 2022 season, he only got minor league offers from teams. So instead, he decided to take an offer that he got 1 year, $1 million to pitch in Korea, where he ends up redoing everything for himself. Like, he just rejuvenates the career and becomes somebody people want again. He gets the pitching triple crown in Korea, 20-6, the ERA of 2. He had 209 strikeouts and 180 in the third innings pitched, which is outstanding, specifically compared to the numbers that that he was throwing in the major leagues. He wasn't getting strikeouts like that at all. Now, sure, Korea is a lower level than the major leagues, but to be able to do that at a professional level, it says something. And, he took home their version of the Cy Young. He got the MVP award that year. Not too shabby. And the big change that really turned things around for him was the sweeper that he added, a pitch that has become more and more popular among major leaguers in the last couple of seasons. Sonny Gray, that's a pitch that has taken him to a different level as well. He's surely benefited from it. Fedde said, in a sense, I had always thrown a horizontal breaking ball, but didn't really have any true intent with it, just trying to throw a breaking pitch, and then kind of changed the grip, added 4 miles an hour to it, and it became, over there at least, a devastating pitch. He also gained his confidence back, which I will continue to harp on, which is such a huge thing for players, is having confidence that you are one of the best players in the league, and that you are one of the best players around the world, and that you belong where you're playing, and that you believe in yourself, really. So we got that confidence back with the success in Korea. Ends up turning that into a 2-year, $15 million deal with the White Sox, who, as you know, flipped him to the Cardinals along with Tommy Pham at the trade deadline as part of the 3-team trade involving the Dodgers getting Tommy Edman. And we all, know how that worked out for LA. Not too shabby. But Fedde didn't find, when he got to St. Louis, he didn't find as much success as he had when he was with Chicago. Right? Despite the White Sox being a far less competitive team, it took him a little while to get going with the Cardinals. With Chicago, he was 7-4. He had a 3.11 ERA, the ERA plus of 1.32. The WAR, 4.7. After the trade with the Cardinals, ends up going 2-5. The ERA, still respectable, but not quite where it was at 3.72. The ERA plus drops down to 1.13, and his WAR is at 0.9, which, for those of you who know about WAR, it's a cumulative thing. So 0.9, it's whatever. He was with the Cardinals long enough to really grow on. But I feel like a lot of fans were underwhelmed from what they saw from Erick Fedde. And you're at the end of the year when they were finally out of things, and not as many people are paying as much attention to some of the good games that Fedde had near the end of the year. Now, he's not a big strikeout guy. He never has been until he got to Korea. That's just not been really his thing. Had a strikeouts per 9 of 8 with the Sox last year. That dipped to 7.4 with the Cardinals for 7.8 per 9 last season. Now, for reference, NL Cy Young Award winner Chris Sale led the league at 11.4 Ks per 9. Sonny Gray actually second at 10.98. But Fedde's ability to avoid hard contact was the key for him last season. And I know people are sick of the Cardinals having those pitch to contact type of guys. But that's kind of what Erick Fedde is. He's going to get you some Ks, but being able to avoid the barrels is really his type of game. The sweeper, the biggest weapon. Opponents hit just 165 against it last year with a whiff percentage of 25.1, which gives him a run value of 7. Now, run value is based on the outcome of the pitch that you throw, whether it's a ball, whether it's a strike, they get a hit, they get a home run, whatever it is, it'll fluctuate up and down. And among those who qualified, Fedde's run value with that sweeper was tied for 5th in the league. So one of the best ones around. Sonny Gray, who was considered to have one of the best sweepers in the game, had a run value of 5. Just throwing it out there. To me, what Erick Fedde looks and feels like is a younger, better, cheaper version of Kyle Gibson. He's half the cost of what Kyle Gibson cost you last year. Much younger, obviously, and is just starting to, hopefully, just starting to blossom into becoming the pitcher he's going to be, at least for this season for the Cardinals, because I don't know if he's going to be around in St. Louis because this is the final year of his contract. But if he has a good first half or second half, first half of the season and becomes something of a trade value with the trade deadline, great. Hopefully the Cardinals are winning and they don't want to trade him. But can Fedde replicate what he found last season with the White Sox in 2025 and what we saw little glimpses of when he became a St. Louis Cardinal at the end of the year? We'll find out. I don't have an answer for you on that yet, but he knows his game. The pitcher, the pitching staff, and the coaches and everything, they know what he is. Okay, and they're hopefully going to make the best of what he has to offer. He's got a lot of movement on his pitches. Doesn't throw like a straight four-seam fastball or anything like that. It's sinker, it's cutter, it's sweeper. A lot of movement going there, which keeps people off balance. He's got a pitch. He's not a thrower. He's a pitcher, and we're going to get our first glance at him at least in 2025 on Saturday against the Marlins, where he's scheduled to throw 1, maybe 2 innings, and then you'll have Matthew Liberatore following up behind him, which, obviously we're excited to see him as well and see what he has to offer, if he's gotten any better in the offseason as he heads into another year with the Cardinals. So another name that's getting a lot of buzz around camp has been top prospect JJ Weatherholt, who got a chance to face Ryan Helsley on Thursday. So we'll discuss some stuff about him coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Now, with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, which makes these games a whole lot more entertaining. So even if you miss the opening tip-off, I'm late for everything constantly. Or if you just want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you could stay in the action with FanDuel. And if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay and really spike things for yourself. FanDuel makes NBA games that much more fun to watch. St. Louis does not have an NBA team. You're aware of this. So whether you're rooting for, Indianapolis or Oklahoma City or Memphis or Chicago or Cleveland, whoever it may be, Boston, whatever it may be, you'll enjoy these games even more thanks to the FanDuel app, because the app, it's easy to use, simple, very easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. And right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. That feedback always welcome and encouraged. The Cardinals consensus top prospect is infielder JJ Weatherholt. He's considered by many to be one of the top young prospects in all of baseball. It's not just with the Cardinals. Like he's up there. And considering he just got drafted last year, that says something about what the expectations for JJ Weatherholt are going to be. He was taken number 7 overall by the Cardinals in the 2024 MLB draft. And again, there was some chatter that he could go as high as number 1. Like there was some chatter about that. So expectations are sky high about this kid as he enters his first spring training camp with the team. And so far, he has not disappointed. People have been very, very happy with what they've seen from JJ Weatherholt so far. Had a chance to face reigning NL closer of the year, Ryan Helsley, on Thursday, which, that's a cool matchup. I'm sure it's fun for Helsley on one side of things because, hey, I'm going to show this kid what's up. On the other side, you've got Wetherholt, who's coming from A-ball in college just before that, now getting to face one of the best closers in all of baseball. Had to be a lot of fun for him. He did not strike out, by the way. He actually pulled the ground ball to the first base side against him. And in an article by Derek Gould at STLtoday.com, he got a quote from JJ about this experience, saying that, his talking about Helsley here, his stuff is top of the league. He's not going to be hitting 100 like he is in the season, but he's building up just like we are. But still, his building up is nasty. That's cool to see. When you get any chance to face a big league arm, it's special. You just got to make the most of it. Wetherholt also faced veteran reliever Nick Anderson on Thursday. Hit one off the bottom of the fence in left field. So a little opposite field, a little oppo taco power there. Also connected on a couple of deep flies against minor league relievers Andre Granillo and Edwin Nunez. Nunez, one of those guys that's got a very lively arm. Granillo's had a lot of success in the minors so far as a back of the end bullpen guy. Maybe we see one or both of them in the major leagues at some point. We don't know where Wetherholt's going to start this season. It's not going to be at the major league level, so don't worry about that. My guess is he could start as high as AA. I'd be shocked if they put him all the way up to AAA Memphis. But after playing A-ball last year, pretty darn good numbers down there. I could see them starting him at AA Springfield, but if he has to start an A-ball again, so be it. But it's cool to see him getting his feet wet with the big leaguers at camp. Some takeaways about JJ from video and stuff I've seen, and the different interviews that I've heard with JJ Weatherholt. There's a few of them that they're floating around there. He seems very, very mature for his age. He's 22 years old, which, by the way, is still Jordan Walker's age, which is something because everybody feels like Jordan Walker is older than he really is. He's only 22 as well. So you got him at 22. You've got Sajacy, age 22. So Walker, Wetherholt, Sajacy, big pieces of this puzzle moving forward. Very, very young. But Wetherholt, like Jordan, carries himself as a much older guy in interviews. Sajacy, too. Sajacy's a pretty mature guy in his interviews. But Wetherholt, something that I grabbed from him is that, he seems, laser focused about everything. Every aspect of his game. It's business, man. It's business. And even though this game is a game and he has fun playing it clearly and loves it, it's very much, you can see it. And it's a job. It's a job for him. He wants to be great. He wants to be the best. He's got a lot of drive, takes things very seriously. And that's going to go a long way for him as he continues to climb that ladder and make his way through the minors up to the major leagues. I also enjoyed the story about bench coach Daniel Descalso handing out some homework assignments to JJ and to another former first-round pick and outfielder Chase Davis. According to reports, Wetherholt was supposed to do research on Ozzie Smith. Davis was doing one about David Freese, which is cool because, both of those guys are at camp, helping them out as special instructors at spring camp this year, working with the club. And I just think it's really cool that the Cardinals, at least Daniel Descalso decided, I don't know who else decided this, but they're making it a point to get to know the organization. This is a way to make this organization feel much more like a family. When you're sitting around the dinner table and you're talking about your uncles and you're talking about your grandparents and things you learn about things that they used to do as you got older. You learn more about their history and things they did. And, it's cool to get that kind of knowledge and knowing that the club and its players to get to know about the history of this organization, one of the most historic teams in the league. I think it's important. I think it's an important thing to teach these guys how special the St. Louis Cardinals are. Learning about how the organization was built from those early days as the Browns and when they became the Cardinals, and learning about names like a Branch Rickey and a Rogers Hornsby, the Gas House Gang. We're talking about things that happened 100 years ago now. That that's a long time ago. These guys don't know anything about that stuff. And to have to, do a little research and learn a little bit about them and Dizzy Dean and, Joe Medwick, Red Shaney, Enos Slaughter, Marty Marion, of course, Stan the Man, Lou Brock, Bob Gibson, Kurt Flood, Kim Boyer. It sucks that these guys are gone, that they're no longer with us. It sucks that they can't hear those stories firsthand from these legends. And, but we've still got some guys. Now we're moving on to stars from the 80s and the 90s, like Ozzie and Willie McGee, Tommy Herr, John Tudor, some of those guys from those era. Obviously, the 2000s are a big deal. Pujols, Yachty, Carp, Wainwright, Scott Rowland, David Freese, those are the guys that paved the way for what these kids are a part of now. And I think it's important to learn about that. And right now, the Cardinals, they're not thought all that highly of around the game. The shine has dimmed on the St. Louis Cardinals organization. People aren't talking about them anymore. And these guys, the Wetherholts, the Walkers, the Gormans, the Sujacis, the Quinn Matthews, the Tink Hents, these are the guys that are going to have to bring the Cardinals back to greatness. And, learning more about the people who came ahead of you, I think that's important of what you're trying to build moving forward, the Cardinal way. Be great again. Be great again. That's what they want to do for the St. Louis Cardinals, showing them that, like, you're getting the keys to the car now. This is your chance to become a part of history and make your mark with an organization that's been so important to the game of baseball for so very long. I dig it. I think it's a great idea. I hope it's something that continues into the future. Speaking of greatness, the Cardinals announced the Hall of Fame ballot nominees for this year. We'll discuss those guys next on Locked On Cardinals. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving is going to get you 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller longer. Quick story about pistachios. In the Dubai chocolates, which my wife introduced me to over the Valentine's Day weekend. Pistachios inside there. So delicious. It was so good if you haven't tried them yet. Wonderful Pistachios got the 2 different versions, of course, where you've got shells or you can go no shells, which is what I like to do because I like to just grab them, pop them in, and head on out the door. Protein, obviously, very important for anybody who is working out. You're trying to get, eat and intake as much protein as possible when you're trying to build muscle. And wonderful pistachios make it very easy, super easy to get a quick protein boost and provide you with all 9 essential amino acids. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and, of course, baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during spring training. And you can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So the Cardinals officially revealed the nominees for induction into the team's Hall of Fame this year. They include Steve Carlton, who's already a Hall of Famer, George Hendrick, Brian Jordan, and Edgar Renteria. Now, when you look at bad trades throughout the Cardinals' history, there's not a ton of them. More times than not, they've come out on the right side of things. But Steve Carlton one, pretty bad. It's either at or near the top of the list for bad Cardinal trades for sure. 77-62 while wearing the Cardinals uniform with a 3.10 ERA in 190 games. 172 starts with the Cardinals over parts of 7 seasons. 66 complete games. Man, it was a different time when those guys pitched, wasn't it? 16 shutouts, World Series champion in 1967, and a 3-time All-Star while with the Cardinals. Of course, after the trade, gets traded in 1972 to the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's when Carlton's game just goes to another level. Financial reasons were why he got shipped out. Goes on to win the Triple Crown and the Cy Young in that first year with Philly, and ends up winning 4 Cy Young awards total with the Phillies. Already in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, has his jersey retired in Philly as well, but it all started with the St. Louis Cardinals. George Hendrick with the team from 1978 to 1984, topped the team in home runs and RBIs and received NL MVP award votes in 4 consecutive years between 1980 and 1983. batted 300 or better 3 times, was a 2-time All-Star, Silver Slugger Award recipient with the Cardinals. He drove in the winning run in Game 7 of the 1982 World Series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Known as Silent George, ranks 9th in franchise history with 62 game-winning RBIs since 1980. Served as the Cardinals hitting coach in 1996 and 1997. Obviously, he's been a big part of Cardinal history. Brian Jordan. There's Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, and then there's Brian Jordan, right, who was super underrated during his time with the Cardinals, at least in my opinion. Was a football player first, defensive back with the Atlanta Falcons, was very good with them. Cardinals said, hey, we would like you to play baseball full-time after they had drafted him. I think it was in 1988. And he finished 8th in the NL Most Valuable Player Award voting in 1996 after batting .310, 36 doubles, 17 dingers, 104 RBIs, and 22 stolen bases. Just a little bit of everything from Brian Jordan there. Led the Cardinals to the NL Central Division Championship in their first postseason appearance since 1987. In 98, he set career highs with a .316 batting average, 25 dingers before leaving in free agency to join the Atlanta Braves, where he continued to have a very solid career. But he was fun. He was cool to watch when he was in a Cardinals uniform. So you love you some Brian Jordan. And then, of course, Edgar Renteria, who never, in my opinion, gets the credit he deserves and how good he was at the shortstop position throughout his career. But, man, he was awesome with the Cardinals. And because you didn't hear him talk or do much about it, just people kind of glossed over Edgar Renteria and how big he was. You know, among shortstops, he ranked 2nd in Cardinals history in home runs and stolen bases, and 3rd in batting average with 1,500 plate appearances minimum. Hits, extra base hits, RBIs. You know, he's 3rd in all of those. He won 3 Silver Slugger awards and 2 Gold Gloves in 6 seasons, including both in 02 and 03. Set franchise records for a shortstop with a .330 average and 47 doubles in 2003 to go along with those 13 home runs and 100 RBIs and 34 steals. Again, one of those guys who did a little bit of everything. 3-time All-Star with the Cardinals, played on 4 NL Central Division championship teams, batted .333 in the 04 World Series against the Red Sox, which we all know how that ended, but it wasn't Edgar's fault. So those are your nominees. Fans can view the 25 Cardinals Hall of Fame ballot and cast their selections online starting on Saturday, the 22nd at cardinals.com/HOF. Now, the modern player votes after fan voting concludes on Friday, April 18th, will be selected into the Cardinals Hall of Fame during a ceremony on September the 6th. The full 2025 Cardinals Hall of Fame induction class, which will also include a veteran player chosen by the Red Ribbon Committee and a Cardinals organization selection, will be announced in May. Carlton was awesome. I get it. But most of his best years were with Philly. I love me some Brian Jordan. I love me some Silent George, key cogs in some very successful teams, but I'm going Edgar Renteria again. That's who I wanted last year. I'm going with him again. I think he's highly underrated, and I think he belongs in a red jacket. But who are you voting for? Let me know your thoughts on Erick Fedde. What are your thoughts on him moving into the season? Are you high on him? Are you low on him? What are your thoughts there? What are your impressions with JJ Weatherholt so far at camp? Let me know in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on all the social medias and we can chit-chat about it. I want to thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Now, if you haven't already, do give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and JD Sports Radio. Find us on TikTok. Find us on Instagram. Obviously, find us on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. Again, I hate to be a pain in the butt, but we get thousands and thousands of views, and then we get like only 100 likes. And I'm like, what? Am I saying something that people don't like? I don't get it. But if you don't hit the like button, you're doing the channel a disservice, because it won't get shared as much as we want it to be shared, so that we can get our love for the Cardinals to be out there amongst everybody and find some new fans. So help me out. Help me help you. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason. And I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.